I think the breakthrough comes from a lot of people are carrying shit that they don't need. I drop it. I drop people and things and places and habits like a hot piece of iron. Like, I don't have time for that shit. You know, I can come off as not empathetic. I can come off as I don't want to give people the time of day, but like, I can't have a friend in my life who's dragging me down.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Today's guest is really, really cool. Rachel Balkovec is a minor league manager for the New York Yankees, and she is the first manager in professional baseball that is a woman and has worked in professional baseball for 10 years. She's the first woman also to be a full-time strength and conditioning coach and to be a full-time hitting coach in the history of professional baseball. She's a highly sought after coach and mentor, and I'm really, really excited to have her. I think I messaged you like 6 months ago, and I love how focused you were. You're like, it's the season. No, hit me up in September.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to have you, Rachel. Thanks for being on here.
Well, I'm glad you followed up because I just had to turn down a lot of stuff and try to make time, in the off season when I have a little bit more free time.
No, I love it. I love it. Just as a reminder to the listeners, subscribe, like, comment. It helps grow the podcast. And anyone interested in joining this community, GoBundance.com, fill out your application, and we'll talk to you about membership. Rachel, do you mind if we geek out on baseball first before we get into your story?
Sure, by all means.
There's a guy I had on, Sean Casey. I don't know if you know who he is, older player with the Reds. Yeah. So I've texted him and he hasn't given me a great answer yet, but this competition committee stuff recently, the three new rules, the larger bases, the pitch count or the pitch clock, and the no shift. Let's start with this. Your thoughts, good or bad for baseball?
I think it's, I'll just go with, if I have to pick one, I'll go with good. I think anything that could make the game more exciting is good. So there's really no doubt at this point that we're losing fans and followers to other sports. And that's kind of a product of just other sports becoming more developed, but also it's a product of the NFL is really exciting. People are getting tackled and there's all kinds of exciting things happen. So even if you're not the biggest football fan, it can be an exciting entertainment, event. Whereas baseball, if you don't know what's going on, you might get a little bored, So I think anything that can make the game more exciting, which is usually more offense, that's really always a good thing for the fans. So I would go with good. I think it's an adjustment period, but I also had the opportunity to work in the Florida State League this year. We had the opportunity to test all of those rules.
I ask you. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was fine. It just wasn't that big of a deal. It was really a small adjustment relative to what you might think.
What did you see? I heard it was like a 36-minute cut, maybe in time in a game on average, like a half hour shaved off the duration of the game.
Oh, I've been in baseball this is my 11th season. It was lightning fast. It felt so fast. We were getting through games sometimes in 2 hours and 15 minutes. And so I think, again, that's a positive thing for the fans for sure.
Yeah. You're close to players, and I'm curious about the player mindset on this. Competition committee, from what I understand, is made up of, I think, 6 management officials. I don't know if that's like front office management or managers of the teams. I don't know, but whatever. 6 people in management, 1 umpire, 4 players. On the pitch clock and the shift, all the players voted no. I think they have to know. They're aware that the pace of the game, the watchability of the game is dictating the future of the game because of all the other sports. What do you think? I have my theory, but I'm curious what you think. Why did all players vote no?
They don't. I'm going to say this lightly, and I don't pull this exact quote out without the context. The players don't care about the fans. They care about the players.
Yeah.
So if their concern probably would be health. And so when you talk about a pitch clock, that means the pitcher is going a lot quicker, which means they're having less rest in between pitches and they're worried about the health of their arm. And so they're protecting themselves, which you have to respect that. And I will say, knock on wood, that we didn't have any soft tissue injuries with our pitchers this year. And all of them obviously did it. And so that's, and everyone will say, well, that's the minor leagues, these are the big leagues. And there's going to be back and forth. But honestly, I just don't think it was that big of a deal. And from a hitting standpoint, our hitters adjusted really quickly. So they're protecting themselves, which they should, and that's why the committee is representative of a whole group of people, not just one type of person who has one type of interest. So I think they're worried about, the injury stuff. Shift, I'm not sure why they would vote against that exactly, but probably because it helps the defense so much. So maybe they're thinking, no, it's helpful. We don't want to get rid of it. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, me neither. Wrote one last point on the Florida League. Did scoring go up as well or no?
Good question. I don't know. Year after year after the season was over, I'm not sure if scoring went up. It's a good question.
Yeah, I was curious if that was an impact from it. What does this do from a standpoint of roster building at any level? Minor league, major league, like are pitchers, do you have a longer rotation? Is it a 6-7 player rotation for pitching? Does it diminish maybe I don't know, like I think of the running back in football, right? It used to be like Adrian Peterson, go back, Barry Sanders, a premier player. Now the running backs, like you can grab one out of the third round and throw them in there. You don't pay them.
Yeah.
Is there a shift coming in that regard?
I don't know, because again, that would be like, I'm not sure. They're going to have to pull data on, did our pitchers, get more tired? Did their velocity drop?
Yeah.
I saw it all season long, and I'm not the pitching coach, so maybe he would have a different opinion, but I don't think we saw that. I think it was fine from a health standpoint and performance standpoint. It was more of a mental, like, oh, I can't take 3 deep breaths and do my meditation in between the pitches. Like, oh, okay, this is quick and things speed up on me. But from a health standpoint, we didn't have any negative effects to my knowledge.
Yeah.
And again, that could be, we just had a lucky year or whatever. So it just depends. But no, I'm not sure. Not sure what the future holds for that
roster. Yeah. And I guess the kind of a similar question on the development side, and maybe at any level that you've coached, whether it's strength and conditioning, hitting, or managing an entire team, does it change in any way, especially in the minor league level where you're into development, right? You're trying to get them there. Does it change the strategy from a conditioning perspective, from a hitting perspective, or like any of these, like no shift? Does it change anything in terms of how you're developing prospects, or will it?
For us, no. Now that could be definitely can be different for different teams, but for us, especially the way we look at things. Excuse me. I had my coffee today.
Boring question.
The way that, the way that we look at things is we don't care what's happening out there. We just want to hit the ball hard and have a strategy, like have a game plan, and we're not going to try to hit around the shift or when the shift people move. Especially at this level, it's hard enough. Literally, it's hard enough to touch a baseball.
Yeah.
When you're up at the plate, like we're not worried about a ton of situational hitting or a ton of, hey, hit the ball between this guy and this guy. Like, oh, can you even touch the ball? Let's worry about that first.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. You've got a heck of an educational background. I think you spent time at LSU. You were in Amsterdam at a school there, all under the umbrella of strength and conditioning. You were graduate assistant at LSU. When did becoming a manager become a goal? Was that always the goal, or was that just something that sprouted after?
First time in my life, this was not actually a goal. The Yankees approached me about it and asked me if I'd be interested in doing it. That was, I don't want to say it was a surprise. I knew that there was kind of probably a shift coming, and my future is in the front office. I've pretty hell-bent on being a general manager in the future. And so they knew that, and we had an opening, and they said, are you interested in this? And it just felt like the next natural step for me, because they know that I'm very invested in leadership. They know that I have a kind of broad view of things, and that's how I like to keep it, is to know a little bit about everything. I'm very much a generalist. So they had an opening, and it's actually like kind of a traditional way that, managers become managers, is they're hitting coaches first, and then they become a manager after that. So I think it was just the Yankees seeing an opportunity that fit me and put me in that role.
Did it feel like it was, I don't want to overuse the word, but like a pioneering role? Like, did anything in you? Yeah. I'm just kind of curious how you took it in, being, you are the first manager.
I thought it got to the point where I thought, we didn't even tell our Yankees PR guy when it happened. Like nothing, we were just like, oh, okay, it's this instance. We just thought, oh, well, it's the next natural step, and I'm just going to be this is my next promotion that I would get, or whatever, my next move in my career. And didn't really think much of it. We didn't even tell anyone with the Yankees. And then I remember I went to a conference and with a bunch of baseball people, and they said, "Oh, what are you going to be doing next year?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to be the manager, in Lowy." And the reactions were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" And I thought, what? And I was so confused. I was like, maybe I should tell somebody like our media team, because if this gets out and they don't know about it, like it's gonna be a problem. Yeah. So actually, so that I literally contacted the media person. I was like, "Hey, I don't know if it's gonna be a big deal. I just want to let you know I'm gonna be a manager." And they just freaked out. And of course, it went public after that. So we literally didn't think it was that big of a deal. And that's just because it was, again, it just didn't feel that way to us. It was just the next natural thing.
Has it been a distraction at all for you? The attention, the media, anything like that? Or
yeah. But I mean, people ask that and you go, "Oh no, it's not a distraction." It's like anything that takes up your time or your mental space, anything. And obviously that could be social media, it could be your kids, it could be the show that you watch, it could be anything that takes up your time or your mental space is going to be a distraction. And so I think it'd be a lie to say, "Oh no, it wasn't a distraction at all." Of course it was a distraction. It's just about managing it and going, okay, what do I need to participate in and what can I say no to? What am I responsible for doing because I took this role? I don't think it's right to take a role and, make history and all these things and have it mean so much to so many people and then go, "Oh no, I can't do any media. Don't talk to me." I want to be accessible to a certain point. So it was a distraction, but also I hope that I managed it as well as I could have given all the circumstances, and you just do the best you can and try not to let it affect your work or your job or my relationships with the people with the Yankees, but also kind of on the side, be able to take away, do an interview or, do limited things while I'm at the field. So just manage it.
Yeah, I again, secondhand, seeing your season focus when, messaged you early, it was the season. No, I'm in the season. And even this week, it's like, "Hey, next week's off-season conditioning. I'm out again." And I think I heard you on something talking about your family experiences that, "Hey, December, I'm having fun, but right now it's go time." Have your goals changed now? Like, it wasn't to be a major league manager. You mentioned a GM. Are they the same? Or are they bigger? What's the goal now?
No, they're the same. I mean, my ultimate goal is actually to be a sheep farmer in New Zealand, but that's 20 years from now. So that's how I always say that, because it's like baseball really isn't the end goal. That's just what I'm doing right now in this phase of life. And I understand that is not, it's just not sustainable if you want to do it at a high level. And you see it ruin people's lives all the time. Yeah. Not baseball, but just high level sports. So my baseball goal would be general manager, and that's been pretty consistent for the past few years, but I've just taken a different path and I've taken a different perspective on what I need to do in my career to get there. Most general managers are very much their analytics, their scouting, their office people that have spent their lives and their careers in the office, whereas I've been on field in a dugout, in a weight room, coaching players and really studying player development. And so it's a different road. And I'm hoping that that's actually an advantage in the future, because now I think part of the reason I want to be a general manager is sometimes decisions are made and you go, what in the world is they thinking? Like, what are they doing? But it's because they've never had boots on the ground, and so they make these decisions that affect this entire organization of minor league players, and they've never lived it. They don't know anything about it. Now I will have to learn plenty about the legal side and scouting and contracts. So I'm also ignorant in certain areas. It's just going to be a different perspective for a general manager.
Has anyone done? I'm trying to think of general managers today. Are there some names of general managers that came up through the same way that you're proposing to?
I'm confident that there's never been a general manager who started as a strength coach, but there have been, and I'm trying to think of names. There have been definitely several general managers who come from managing, been a manager. Yeah. But most of them right now, I'm guessing, I'm going to throw a number out there, but I'm guessing 80 to 90% of them came from a scouting or analytics background. Yeah,
the Theo Epsteins, the Billy Beans of the world, right? Something like that. So, wow, that makes total sense. Are you? So, what's the typical arc for where you are right now? So for a minor league manager in A ball, there's rookie ball, A ball, there's high level A, there's double A. You keep going up. Is it a 1 to 2? What do you see? So somebody that's of your tenure, is this I should be here for 2-3 more years? What's normal, if you will?
Oh, jeez. I'm laughing because it's like there's nothing about my career that's normal, or like I could be in the front office.
What's the next question? Yeah.
Yeah, I could be in the front office next year. I could be a manager for another couple of years. I really don't think I'm going to be a major league manager. I think I could be on a major league staff easily. I mean, I've interviewed for a major league position prior, and I mean, honestly, I don't have a timeline period. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't think I'll be a manager for another 5 years. I think I'll be in the front office before then. But honestly, I didn't know I was going to be a manager. So I don't know. I just try to really put my head down, and then the next natural step will present itself. I've definitely had other opportunities to do different things that haven't felt right. And so I just say, no, this feels right. I really like the Yankees organization. I like where we're going. I'm aligned. That's one of the I always tell people that I mentor, it's like, that's one of the most important things almost, is just, do you like where you're at? Do you like the people? Are you aligned? Do your values align? Do your professional values align? Do you agree with what they're doing? A certain amount of like difference is good, but I love the direction the Yankees are going in general. And so I'm good where I'm at, and then I'll just keep progressing where I'm at.
What is it about baseball that you have a passion for? Is it something specific? Is it a feel, a smell, a sound? What is it about?
I'm not the traditional, like, I just love baseball and I grew up going to the games with my dad. I just don't have that story. I'm not romantic about baseball in that way. I actually fell in love with the minor league system, which sounds funny because most people get into baseball so that they can be in the major league dugout with the lights and the cool players, and so they can say that they were in the dugout with this player. And I'm just not like that at all. I really, really am fascinated by the development system and the journeys that these players go through on their way to getting there, and just how that all goes down, and all of the nuances of the minor league system and the Latin American players, where they come from. I mean, I'm still enchanted by that. And that's really why I got into the game, 10, 12 years ago, is because I was fascinated by the minor league system, which doesn't exist in any other sport.
That's interesting. No, you're right. It really doesn't. What is it about, just living down here in the Dominican, what is it about Latin America that produces these baseball prospects? Why is it such a hotbed?
So if you could imagine, this is hard to imagine, but if you could imagine that in the United States of America, there was no football, there was no basketball, there was no soccer, there's no lacrosse, there are no other professional leagues to play in. You would get this incredible amount of talent and humongous athletes, by the way, playing baseball, because there's just really nothing else. So sometimes we'll see, Latin American players you're like, dang, that guy should have played football. It's like, there is no football there. So there are no other options but to play baseball. And then it creates the culture of like, everyone's obsessed with baseball because it's the only thing there. So the top tier athletes in the Dominican Republic play baseball. I would say, no offense to anyone out there, but the top tier athletes in America actually play football, football. They're the biggest, strongest, fastest, most pristine athlete. When you think about it, they play football, And so if for some reason all of those guys grew up and they were the kids who were, 6'6" in their freshman year of high school, you put a bat in that guy's hand and he plays baseball his whole life, the game looks a lot different. So anyway, all that to say, the Dominican, they don't have any other sports.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You're right. It is football because there's so many body types, right? There's the huge lineman. There's the longer, leaner, wiry type that plays corner or receiver, but they're all they're fast as anything. They're strong as anything. And, that sport fits that because it's available to them. That's a great point. What's your, as a coach, as a manager, what's your superpower? What are you great at that you think makes you successful?
Oh man, the real answer I want to give you is I'm not really great at anything. I'm good at a lot of things. I'm not great at anything. So I'm a generalist, and I'm like a generalist, outside of baseball, just life. Everyone, if somebody's like, oh, I'm from this place, I'm like, oh, I lived there one time. And they're like, oh, I'm from this place. I'm like, yeah, I lived there for 3 months. Okay. I've been everywhere. I've done a lot of things. I'm into business. I'm into sports. I have my hands in 10 different things. I'm a generalist to the core, so I think that just being able to be agile and help wherever I'm needed could be my superpower. If it wasn't that, I would say it'd be honesty and the ability to just be direct with people. So superpower and a kryptonite. So I do think that some players really crave that and want that, and some players really get shut down by that. So I definitely do not shy away from a tough conversation or holding somebody accountable or pushing somebody at all. And I think that is a really difficult thing for coaches, especially young coaches who are, they get into professional sports and go, I can't say that to this guy. And meanwhile, I'm over there, already said it 5 minutes ago, 10 times, So I think just being able to be honest and have upfront conversations with guys.
Yeah, it's funny. I get to hang out with some pretty cool entrepreneurs that have done really big things, big net worth and all that. And what I hear in you, in this brief conversation that I think you have as a superpower that you share with these folks is an intense sense of self-awareness and no shame about it. Right? Like you're not afraid, like you said, it's not like baseball. You didn't feel compelled to tell the story of, baseball is just something I loved always growing up. It was the thing my dad always, whatever, you're just intensely honest, not only with others, but with yourself. And I think that sounds to me like an incredible trait that probably serves you very well, I would guess, on a day-to-day basis. So anyway.
Yeah, gotta be. You gotta be.
Yeah, absolutely. Being the first female manager and everything, we could talk in a moment, and we will, about, maybe some of the challenges with that, some of the things that might be not as obvious. I'm sure you face chauvinism. I'm sure you face, mansplaining and all of that stuff. But I'm curious, the perks. What are some of the benefits? Like, is your cell phone filled with some of the bigger names than some of the other minor league managers have because you're the first female?
Sure.
What are some of the benefits of being?
I mean, yeah, definitely the networking you're exposed to. And I mean, look, I got in the game in 2012 and I made history for the first time in 2014. And I really started to, which, by the way, I think, just funny story, since we have a little time, is what people might not realize about my story, because now you could Google me and there's a million this or that stories and images. And when I first was hired in 2014, there was no social media. Yeah. I mean, it was starting, but not like this, it was still right. It was just so quiet. And I was hired and there were no news stories. I mean, legitimately, when I first was hired by the St. Louis Cardinals full time, so this is 2014, I was in Major League camp. Yadier Molina's there, Wainwright, Mott, all these big name guys were there. I was in Major League camp just doing my job, and I was picking up cones after a stretch. And this reporter taps me on the shoulder and he was like, excuse me. And I was like, yes, can I help you? And he was like, do you work for the Cardinals? And I'm decked out in Cardinals, everything, and I was like, yeah, I do. And yeah. He was like, what do you do for the team? And I was like, well, I'm a strength and conditioning coach. And he said, are there any other women doing that? And I was like, no. And he was like, can I do a story on you? This was a local Florida report. You couldn't find this online if you tried. Local Florida station, random guy who just picked me out. That was it. Until later in the year, MLB kind of picked up that there was a woman working as a strength coach. They came out and did a special that you probably can't find online either. So it's there was no media surrounding anything that I did, early in my career. So all this to say, probably 2015, 2016, I started getting calls from MLB to be on panels. And so I'm on a diversity panel with Kim Ng, who's the current general manager for the Miami Marlins and the first ever female general manager in the history of the 4 major sports. I'm on a panel with her. I get to meet Kim Ng. I get to meet Farhan Zaidi, who is the current, I think he's the current CEO of the Giants or president. I don't know, high up for the Giants. I get to meet all these people at these conferences, and then obviously just more people reaching out. I definitely I utilize social media to connect with people early on. I'm a bit more quiet and reserved, I guess, on social media now, but I was always connecting with people. I was always, early on start to get, asked to be on podcasts. So then somebody hears your podcast, they reach out to you, they do that. So I think that it definitely has provided a very large network is what I'll say. So there are definitely some perks to being in a role where people just want to talk to you. And if that's what you like, I like to talk to people. I like to be social. I like to network and connect with people. If that's what you like, it's a really big gift. There are some women I know that are in some roles that are don't contact me. I don't have social media. I don't want to do any of this. And that's probably a big burden for them. But for me, it's been really fun.
Wow. Is it surprising? And I don't know if it would be different surprising when you were going through it, or maybe in retrospect, looking back now? Are you surprised that it took a couple of years before there was any attention on this? On you?
No, because it was a different time. It's like now it is crazy to see the changes happen in the past 10 years. Even in the past 3 or 4 years, I'm not exactly sure what tipped it over the edge, but the conversation surrounding women in sports is wildly different. And the amount of things that people could have been fired for that happened in my first few years are in the hundreds, and now it's it's so diverse. The conversation is, we want women here. Women make us better. And when I was first getting into the game, I was blatantly discriminated against. I could not get a job, a low-level internship job. And so it's not really surprising, because I was living through a lot of discrimination and difficult things early on. And now it's shocking how fast the changes happen. But now I'm I expected kind of when the tweet went out about me being manager, I was like, oh, here we go, because I've seen it's coming, this big wave of celebration and so many people supporting it. It's not surprising anymore. I'd say it's just shocking how fast it's happened.
Yeah, no doubt. What you mentioned about early on discrimination, or not being able to get a job at a low level or whatever. Were you given any good reasons, or was it a blatant hey, we're not ready for a woman in this role at this point? What were you told?
Yeah, I was told it was people were smart enough back then, but it wasn't the same situation where, no one would ever say this to me now, because they would be so terrified of losing their job and having their life ruined, literally. Yeah. But at the time, it was just so accepted that he told me this. Basically, I'll try to keep this short, but I had applied. Yeah, I had basically done 6 internships and had a master's degree and had worked for the St. Louis Cardinals as an intern. I was applying the next year for another internship. And I was pretty naive about what was going on, because I got hired by the Cardinals for a short 4-month internship to work with their team. And I was like, oh, well, it's not that big a deal, right? Everyone's going to hire me. So I applied for, let's say, 10 jobs in Phoenix for an internship, and I got nothing back, nothing. And finally, spring training started, and I thought, well, these jobs are just really competitive. I couldn't even get a phone call with 6 internships in baseball all over my resume. LSU baseball, LSU softball. I was partially bilingual at the time, and so no one contacted me, and I just thought, wow, these jobs are so competitive. These $1,000 a month internships are so competitive. And so finally, an organization called me late in spring training, and somebody had quit and they were desperate, and they saw that I was local. They called me and they were like, hey, we need somebody really quickly. Are you available? And of course I was desperate. So it was a perfect fit. Went to go interview in person with this guy, and everything went well. And he called me and it was like, hey, you're the person we want to hire. We'll get the paperwork started tomorrow. We'll give you a call. Never heard from him. He just ghosted me. Before ghosting was a thing. He just ghosted me. And I was like, God, this is so weird. He literally verbally offered me the position and then never heard from him. Yeah. So of course, several weeks later, he finally calls me back and he's like, hey, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but I actually took, your hiring to the higher ups, and they said that they weren't willing to hire a woman. And he was telling me to apologize, so he was very apologetic. And he's like, I feel awful. This is a travesty. I feel embarrassed. And I want to just tell you, it's not me. It's definitely above me. And I feel horrible. And so he basically told me that they, blatantly had discriminated against me. And he also took so long to get back to me because he contacted all the other teams that he saw had open positions, which I had applied for every single job. So they all had my resume. And one by one, they all said, oh yeah, we got her resume, but we can't hire a woman. So I knew that at that point, it wasn't just one team, but it was many teams that were discriminating against women. So it was a pretty blatant, obvious, term. And then the other conversations went off that I'd have with people, right? So I'd meet a strength coach in baseball and they'd be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be really hard because you're a woman. And you're like, oh, okay. Thanks, thanks for saying that. So it was pretty blatant. And it was, as you can imagine, like I said, it was so blatant because it was just so normal. Oh, well, we can't hire a woman. Sorry. They were just able to say that, which now would just, again, annihilate your career.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. At the time, was it shrug the shoulders, move on, it's just the way it is? Or were you thinking I had to do something about this? I'm kind of curious what your mindset was when this became apparent like, wow, I'm just being boxed out because I'm female. That's the only reason. Was there anything you were thinking, I'm going to do something, I'm going to go to the media? I don't know. Any?
No, oh God, no, I would never be. People say, well, why didn't you sue that organization? They blatantly discriminate. I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like the time was not where they take the women's side. It was like,
wow. Yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't, if I had complained about anything that went on in my career, I wouldn't be here. Now I see women going to social media all the time. And I just think that's a fucking privilege that you can go and complain about something that's going on, because prior, if you went and complained, you would be ostracized. You would never get a job again. Yeah. So that's a career switch if you're going to do that. Now it's everyone backs the woman and takes the woman's side, and it ruins the men's career. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong or the other. I'm just acknowledging a difference. So why didn't I do anything? I wouldn't have had a job ever if I had said something. So more so it was definitely not shrug my shoulders. It was tears and anger and bitterness and a chip on my shoulder and like, okay, I'll be back next year type of feeling. Like, all right. So I sat out a full season of baseball that year 2013, and did another internship for free at Arizona State, and ended up again next season have some pretty difficult times. I got an unpaid internship in the wintertime with the White Sox. $35 a day internship, and basically unpaid. And then finally, it was late in that off season where I thought I was going to sit out another year, and the Cardinals called me back and actually hired me full time. So wow. It was really only 1 year sitting out completely. And then the Cardinals, I always give them credit for taking the actual leap. Now organizations hiring women, it's actually becoming standard, but back in that time, there was there were two total women being an athletic trainer for the Dodgers.
Wow. How many women are in the pipeline or kind of in coaching roles or different roles like that, even front office roles right now? I don't know if there's a lot.
There's a lot in the front office. There's been a significant amount in the front office for quite some time now, but the coaching roles, I was the first, I like to always say, alongside Rachel Fulton for the Cubs. Rachel and I were hired almost the exact same time. So we just say we share the title, and we don't even know when each of us were hired. So we were hired in 2019, and then now there's 12 women in uniform in different roles, which is massive, insanely fast growth for women in the game. So there's 12 women across 10 organizations, I think, gotcha, in uniform of some kind that it takes on different forms and fashions. Could be an internship or a part scouting role, part coaching role, or kind of a assistant coach type of thing.
Yeah, when you take a year off of baseball, or you're in an unpaid internship, or making $35 a day, this is just curiosity. How'd you earn money? How'd you pay for your life?
Waitressing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would go and waitress. Which actually ended up, of course, just like anything else. It's like I was so really ashamed, and of course, during that year, I was getting all of these offers to work with women's sports, and so my little mind at age 25 was going, hey, I have all of this baseball on my resume, men's sports everywhere. I've worked really hard to make it that way. I have a master's degree, all this stuff. I'm partially bilingual, and I couldn't even get a job. So I thought, well, if I don't pursue this, then what woman is going to come behind me and have a better resume that's more qualified to do this? Yeah. So I kind of just, even at that age, was I kept getting all these Division I women's sports jobs being presented to me, and I just was no, if this is the way the world is, then I'm just going to change it. This is not acceptable. So I think that year I was approached by 8 different Division I schools about women's sports jobs for strength and conditioning. And I just said I wasn't interested and was going to wait for the next year.
How hard was that? How close did you say yes at some point? Did you ever come close? That's having resolve, man. That's hard.
I'll tell you this. I never went on an interview.
Wow.
I would always take the phone call because I had just left LSU. So it's I was an LSU graduate assistant strength and conditioning coach, SEC sports. It's a big deal. Softball was in the College World Series. Baseball was in the College World Series. Women's basketball I was working with in the Sweet 16, really highly successful teams. So I was getting a lot of leads for jobs, and I'd always get on the phone with them. And my one ask was, can I have a male sport? I don't care if it's men's soccer, men's equestrian, I don't give a shit, whatever it is, can I have a men's sport? And they were saying no. And so I just, yeah, I mean, I didn't really come close. I never took an interview. I just got on the initial phone call to learn more about the job, and then I would just say no. So anyway, so I didn't really get close. I mean, trust me, I was not a happy person.
Sure.
There were many tears. There were many times where I was upset and just frustrated, and can remember having a lot of phone calls with my family, my friends, and just being frustrated about it. But I just, again, pretty quickly was like, fuck that. Like, I'm not gonna give up. And again, who else has a resume like this? Like, I had a very, very, very qualified resume for a young person seeking a internship. Like, I had an overqualified resume and couldn't get anything. So,
that's some resolve. Wow, that's incredible to think you made this decision at a young age too, right? 25. I mean, that's still, you're right out of college, or for you, you've done even more than just you've done some post-secondary work. So to make the decision that, no, what did you say? I love that. I'm going to just change the world.
I got to change it. One of my favorite quotes is from Buckminster Fuller. And this, I have this literally written on a piece of paper that I had on my wall during my second master's degree in Amsterdam. But the quote, and I'll kind of paraphrase, but it basically says, what is my job on the planet? What is it that needs to be done that I know something about, that if I don't do it, nobody else is going to come behind me and get it done? And it's like, I just feel like, at a young age, I'm like, this is my purpose. This is something that outside of just, teaching someone how to hit a white ball, that this is a purpose that I could serve in the world. And I know I can do a good job, be successful at it. And I felt that way even at age 25, and I'm still doing it,
Incredible.
So when the Yankees approached me about being a manager, if I know I can do that, and I know I can command respect and do it well, and it's going to open up doors for other people, then like, that's my job, It's like, I gotta fucking do it. There's really no option.
I love that. Any struggle with players this first year, you being the first female manager, anything like that?
No, not, if I have a problem, I always say if I have an issue with the player, it's because all the coaches have an issue with the player. It's not because of my gender. It's because it's that, the player is not super easy to work with. So, and I also knew a lot of those players because I had been a hitting coach in the organization prior. And so they just knew me. So I rarely have issues with players. Like, it's been so rare. And frankly, I would just say, they'd never say it to my face anyway. So, I've had a few instances where there's been a, true altercation involving my gender over the course of 12 years. And I still look at them and go, oh, like, you're a young, really immature 20-year-old guy who doesn't have any idea what the fuck you're doing in your life. Yeah. And I don't take it personally. I just think it's a lack of respect for a lot of people.
You get a lot from other teams, fans, anything like that? Or do your players take a lot of flack?
Shockingly, I did not. I was shocked that I did not get a lot of heckling in the season. And definitely there is more curiosity from other teams because they don't know me. So it's like, it's easy to look over and go, well, how does that work? Like, how does she in the clubhouse? How does she?
Locker room, yeah, right.
It's easy to feel curious. And I just, when I was younger, I might have been upset about it, but now I'm just like, look, it's change. It's change. When my computer updates, I get upset because I'm like, what is happening? I'm like, I don't like change. You don't like change. Your iPhone updates, you're like, where's my app? Like, what is happening? And so it's the way that people process change and learn about different change. Like, that's just how it is. And it just so happens that I'm at the epicenter of the change. And so unfortunately, some of that awkwardness or not accepting or curiosity comes directly to me. And I just am like, oh, guess what? It's an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to change your mind. And I'm glad that I'm the person that you're watching because I will change your mind. So, okay, might not be great for me, but also I take a lot of pride in being able to win people over and change their mind and go, oh, well, actually I met that Rachel, the manager for the Yankees. She's pretty legit. Like, yeah, she knows her shit and she's really serious about her job. And then that changes somebody else's mind. So it's just an opportunity for me.
Wow. It's just a strong human being. It emanates from you. That's really, really cool. I mean, it's incredible. Like bullheaded in the best possible way to use that term. You know what I mean? Like, just not gonna give up. No excuses, fucking roll forward. That's it.
I've been called bullheaded once or twice before in my life.
I think it's a good thing. I wish I were a little bit more. I meant that in a positive way, by the way. I don't want you to take it the wrong way.
Yeah, I know.
You got access to bats. I don't need to piss you off. So, you coach and mentor people, like who? I don't mean the names, but is it women who are struggling to break through in a profession? Like who do you mentor? Who do you coach? I'm curious about
the demographic is usually mid-20s to mid-30s women usually, but all over the map. Could be, I've mentored a 56-year-old man. It's just all over the map, but mostly mid-20s and mid-30s. And I would say it's women who have arrived at a point in their career where they're either stuck or maybe they made some poor decisions early on in their career and they didn't set up the foundation for their career, so they need to course correct. But really it boils down to confidence. And if the feedback of the post survey after my mentorship program, almost every mentee will say the word confidence will pop up. What did you get out of this mentorship? Something about confidence. I feel more confident in my resume, my cover letter, the way that I'm presenting myself. I feel more confident in my decision to change my career. I feel more confident in where I'm going. I feel more confident in the workplace, and how I'm talking to people. So it's really about confidence. And I feel like I've had to really develop that. I've definitely always been a confident young woman, even when I was 16, but refining that and having perspective on that as you move through your professional career, especially when you hit challenges, and the challenge could be related to gender discrimination, or it could be related to, hey, I want to change my career. And I've done that. I went back to school at age 30 and gave up all of my worldly possessions and went into crazy amounts of debt to redirect my career. And it worked out, so I think that it's really just coming down to people want somebody to tell them they're doing the right thing or to tell them they're doing the wrong thing, and they want clarity. So, wow. There's been so many, I can't even tell you how many times we get on the first mentorship call, and I've already done pre-surveys to kind of learn about them. And so we get on the first mentorship call and I'm like, all right, so here's what I think. And they just start bawling and they're like, I wanted to do that. I knew I should have done that, but I didn't have anyone to tell me and I didn't know for sure. And it's just like this relief of like, all right, go confidently in the direction of your dreams now. Like I give you permission. So I think that's really what it boils down to.
Holy cow. What are some of the things that you just mentioned kind of one. So I was going to ask the question that you just said what you said, but maybe we can further that. To build confidence, and I know every client's different, every person's situation is different, but are there 2 or 3 themes that either erode confidence or where you see people are able to break through in achieving confidence? So there are a couple of, however you want to take that. I'm just curious about some themes around building confidence, like either where the trauma typically comes from or the lack of confidence, or how people typically break through.
I'll start with how people break through. I tell people all the time, like, don't join my mentorship if you're not ready to sell your home and fly across the world and move to another place. The breakthrough comes from letting things go. And so that usually means, people, it's like they'll break up with their significant other, they'll get divorced, they'll move, quit their job. Like, I think the breakthrough comes from a lot of people are carrying shit that they don't need. And I have a strong point and a weak point is like, I drop it. I drop people and things and places and habits like a hot piece of iron. Like, I'm just like, oh, it's over. Like,
why? Like, what's it? What, just
time.
Because?
I don't have time for that shit. I just do not, it's such a waste of time. And so I can come off as not empathetic. I can come off as, I don't want to give people the time of day, but like, I can't have a friend in my life who's dragging me down. And if you are dragging me down, I don't probably consider you a friend. I would consider, and that's different than the players and people that I mentor. Like, those are people that that relationship is different. It's my job to have them rise up.
No, I get that.
If we're truly in a friend circle or something, like, and you're fucking around or you're not serious about what you're doing, we probably never became friends in the first place. So I'm not sure, like, I don't make that mistake too often. So it's just time. And so evaluating your life and going, okay, are you spending 2 hours scrolling on social media? Are you catching up on your favorite show every fucking day? Like, I don't understand. I don't watch television. I don't understand that. I know that some people, a lot of people, billions of people do that. That's normal. But I just like, I am so efficient with my time. And I just feel like that comes from my ability to let something go. I mean, some people talk about their favorite TV show like it's their firstborn son, like, oh, I might have to watch it. Like they talk about their cell phone like it's cocaine, they're like, I need it. I actually paid a player this year. I did like a little contest with him and I was like, I'll pay you $100. This was like the last 2 weeks of the season. And I always would give him shit. I'm like, it's an addiction. Like your phone is cocaine. Like he's always on his phone, distracted. I find him in the locker room when he didn't need to be in there on his phone. And I finally was like, I'll pay you $100 if you put your phone in my office an hour before the game and you don't get it until you leave every single day for the rest of the season. And of course, by the end of the season, he was putting it in there 3 hours before the game. He's like, I feel so much better. I'm not distracted. I'm interacting with my teammates. I'm having better conversations. I'm like, oh, you don't say, so yeah. I think that letting things go is the breakthrough. Like that's like the most hindering thing for people is they go, well, I can't do that because my boyfriend this. And I'm like, well, then fuck that boyfriend. Like that is over. I don't know how, like that's, dead. He's dead to me, So I think that's really the you asked me a dual question and it's the same answer. It's like,
no. That's a great answer. I've shared this on the show before, but I was in my 20s. I was in a relationship that I called off 3 weeks before the wedding. Like kind of a shitty thing to do.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. But
no, it's not a shitty thing to do. It's a great thing that you saved her divorce.
But I knew for a year that I should have done it.
Okay. Well, that happens to all of us. We all know. Right. Before we cut something off, we all know for a certain amount of time. I would say mine is just a lot shorter than everybody else. Like I have the feeling and I'm like, it's over. And then I cut it off. But most people have maybe a longer, like, I think it's over, but I'm going to try this for another 6 years.
Yeah.
But go on. Sorry.
Yeah. No. It's okay. The idea was like, maybe I'm just cold feet. I talked to my friends and they all had miserable relationships. I'm like, well, this is normal. I just got to get over it, whatever. But when I ended it, it's like, not only did I met my wife 2 weeks later and we've been married 12 years now as of last Friday.
Awesome.
But so like the clearance of that relationship opened up a better relationship. One. But more than that, like everything got better. So I always say like, the what I would do would be to numb, eat, go out, drink, party, have fun, anything other, go on a vacation, anything but deal with what needs to be removed right in front of me. I did that for so long. And when I removed the thing, like health wise, I would work out because that's what I'm supposed to do for health, but breaking the relationship got me, in better shape, right? Like I would work harder at work to try to get the promotion, but breaking the relationship freed up my energy in order to get I moved to Boston right after that and, boom, and here we go. So it's a great point around building confidence and just breaking through, or I guess the other way around, you're saying breaking through to build confidence is it's not potentially the thing that is seemingly in the way, like I can't get promoted. Well, that might be because you're in a bad marriage or whatever it might be. There's something blocking you that just sort of permeates everything. Fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most people don't link those two together, but it's your lifestyle, and so but instead of saying improving your lifestyle, you have to get really specific about what in your lifestyle is really holding you back. And we all have those things. I have those things right now too, something. And some you're aware of and some you're not. And obviously you just try to do your best to manage. Sometimes you allow it to be in your life because it's a family member or something. And those are real situations as well. Or you're married and you have kids and you want to keep the family. Like those are real things, but you just try to manage and minimize the things that are holding you back.
Love it. I feel your energy lifting on this stuff. I could see how you get passionate with your clients. So I want to share one quick screen image here and get your take on it because this fascinated me. I don't know if you could see that or not yet, but what the hell happened here? A brawl, a bench clearing brawl? What happened?
God, there's some ugly pictures of me online. It's just so annoying. You're like, God, if any young woman saw
this is not like a bad hair day.
Okay, yeah, the getting hit in the face though. So I was, I I was side tossing. Like basically there's a drill where you kind of like toss from the side, and this is super common. It's done all the time, and I've done it a million times. And I tossed one, and he kind of caught it a little bit late or wrong and hit it straight back at my face. And I was really lucky. I'm so lucky. I mean,
Smile on your face here.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I was temporarily blind in my left eye. I went to the hospital, couldn't see anything out of my left eye. And then slowly but surely it started to come back. And then now I have zero problems, which is, I mean, every doctor I see is like, you're a miracle. Like, what happened? So no teeth broken, no jaw, no nose. I mean, it just hit me right in the right spot. And
that's a haymaker.
I'm grateful. So.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, wow. Well, glad you recovered from that. Incredible. Rachel, I appreciate this so much. Again, I want to be respectful of your time. Where can folks learn more about you, reach out, whatever it might be to get to know you more?
Easiest ways are probably I live mostly on Instagram, not super on Twitter or anything else. So at Rachel.Balkovec, I think, and then RachelBalkovec.com if you want to reach out to me. Or my mentorship I sent out the invites today, so there'll be another round coming in December and possibly an in-person event. Trying to work that out, December, January time, maybe New Year's. So yeah, RachelBalkovec.com and Rachel Balkovec on Instagram.
Amazing. Thanks again for coming on. I appreciate you being here. It's been fascinating. It's better than I expected, so I appreciate you.
Thank you for your time.